Emilia Lendzion Barszcz, and she will be presenting Boom at the front end. Emilia is a test development engineer in C or SII Poland and a freelance trainer. Her daily routine consists of back-end testing, widely understood as automation, efficiency, and unit testing. However, after hours, when she needs an adrenaline boost, she enjoys enduro motorbike racing. Please welcome Emilia.
Yep. Hi, folks. By the way, Daniel, thank you very much for your presentation. It was nice to watch you and for the introduction. Yep, in the beginning, I would like to check the sound. Let me know, guys, folks, if you can hear me, because I know that there were issues before. So, I just want to be sure that you can hear me. You can give it on the chat, YouTube chat. So why not? Or maybe the technical guys can confirm that everything is okay.
I can definitely confirm that. I hear everything.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. So we can move on. In the beginning, I would like to thank the organizers for the invitation and the whole team behind it. I know that you did a really great job. Thank you very much. Looking at the plan, you probably had quite a day getting some knowledge about risk, change management, using different possibilities like AI on different levels, or going to the backend phase with your tests. To be honest, in a way, my presentation will include all of the above. We will look at the testers from another perspective. First things first, I would like to start with making sure that you are aware, and I will not talk about how to test UI. The main focus here is about testing process itself. And to be honest, I like backend, so why not? The only change which was made by Daniel. Right now, I am a QA architect at SIA Poland and a trainer. At SIA Poland, the company, to be honest, supports me in developing the skills we will discuss today. In the project, my role is to arrange the processes to be not needed in the team as a tester and to solve problems at the organizational level. That's all about me. Let's move on to the topic that brought us here. For me, taking care of quality starts very early, at the same time when ideas are created. It is a continuous process. It doesn't matter what role you play in the team. Our common goal is to provide high quality functionality. How about the general understanding of the role of the tester? By the definition, a tester is a person who tests a particular thing. Okay, so what is testing? Testing is a process or system which is used to identify characteristics or problems. Okay, great. So having these definitions, I can say that we all should be called testers, right? But in reality, in many cases, tester is the person who tests the application at the last level. If we are talking about automation, these are people who automate what has already been manually tested. So it's practically the end of creating a given functionality. Skills? Testers should have skills like observation, attention to details, know the different types of testing. And what about automation tester? Yep. My definition of such a tester is a programmer who codes user behavior and programs potential regression errors. Looking at the salary of automation engineers, come on, I would not say that they differ that much from programmers. So if we already define our definitions and we already settle common language, why the role of the tester was created in the beginning? Maybe because programmers usually create something but don't want to hurt their creation. While writing the code, they know it inside out and therefore are tainted with this knowledge. Sometimes they won't come up with the concept that is completely out of touch with reality. So they handle it gently, and you need a person who has no sentiment for it. This argument is pretty solid, but this is a question for all of you guys. Why is often the cooperation between programmers and testers already at the last stage of software development? Since, testers have a critical approach, maybe it would be worth engaging them earlier. And here, I would like to focus on presenting complex problems and also sharing my experience. Before we go any further, let's take a look at the prominent and well-known thing, test pyramid. This diagram showed us both the cost of finding a bug, test execution speed, and feedback. Testing through UI is slow, it's really slow. Most of the time the UI testing will be done after deployment. And I heard the opinion that there is no point in automating in some companies because such tests are poorly written, are unstable. The reason can be found in other aspects, of course, but I will not discuss this during this lecture. Especially for this presentation, I was browsing various pages with job offers for testers for a month. Then I pick one portal where the job offers were clearly described and tagged with skills. When I choose the testing category, there were a lot of job offers, most of which were for a tester with no technical skill required. When I narrowed down this range to test automation category, I noticed one thing. My calculations shows that 85% of job offers wants someone familiar with front-end automation. 50% of them had something API related as nice to have. But come on, API testing doesn't equal backend testing, right? This 15%, just one offer mentioned directly unit test, senior offer with quite a high pay. And this, leads me to a question. Are companies looking for a tester with UI automation because they cover very well previous stages? If you have this kind of company, just let me know. I would really, have a chance. I would really want to have a chance to see that in progress, in practice, not only in theory. Or maybe, just maybe, they know that testing knowledge and skills are important, and testers are usually associated with the final stage. So let's look for front-end tester. Why is there no information in the requirements? Hey, we would like to involve you in the early stage of software development where you as a tester will verify, even by name, whether the unit tests cover essential parts of business logic. Yep, or barely anyone thinks about such an aspect. Ask yourself, if you have a tester or the testers in the team, why not invite them to test in lower layers, even one with no technical skills? And this is why the shift-left approach is close to my heart. This approach is about pushing testing toward the early stages of software development. We are starting from requirements, but we all know that the whole team should be involved in testing and checking requirements. So do we go to the left from UI? Before UI, we usually have an API. Here, I have noticed a massive improvement in testing over the last 4 years. A lot of people started testing the API, yet the quality of these tests varies. Sometimes they are neglected. Edge cases are not always checked. If we have logic on the backend side, why not to check it there? And now the question is, why we do not do it in a proper way. During testing, was there a person, with a testing mindset? Or maybe the verifier did not fully know such a layer and is afraid of the code. In that case, perhaps it is worth to cooperating and sharing knowledge. Sit down for 1 hour and talk. If this is not possible, point where to look for such knowledge. We have known for a long time that API tests, of course, as long as we can have them and we can do them and we have such possibility, are cheaper and faster than UI tests. The fact that we have validation in frontend doesn't mean that we validated in backend. Today, even Andrzej Kwaśnicki mentioned it in his talk. Another example. I know a team whose one test case took 7 minutes using UI. You know what, right? Do you have the same experience? It was related to architecture, the paths, and blah, blah, blah. But when I asked them why they didn't test it using the API, I got silence. After migrating this test to API test, the same test took like 20 seconds. What was the issue in this team? Lack of communication regarding the quality strategy, lack of communication of what we can do together. And what could we do to make API testing friendly to us? Suppose that tests are written by developers. Hey, sit down with the tester and talk about what aspects can be checked, even from a business point of view. Spoiler alert, not only happy paths. If testers write the test, what is the barrier to transferring the checking of most of the backend logic to, for example, API? Let's leave the frontend for the frontend. Come on. Going further, we have unit tests. Okay, you got me. Component tests, but we'll leave them for now. Within unit tests, I know that it can be very different. Why? Yeah, most often I have come across the approach that tests are just written for the sake of it, or code coverage, sometimes forced. Are we writing the application for the business end user or us? Why do we not test edge cases in units, business aspects? Only the most common happy flow that, if everything goes well, hooray, we have it. And yet, the test pyramid shows that these tests are the cheapest. So why? From my experience, lack of good practices, lack of awareness of the added value, lack of time. But after all, we will find the time to fix a bug. So why not to discover it earlier? So usually unit tests cover basic flows or so that the sonar doesn't block merge. About blocking merge. While reviewing pull or merge requests, I often saw that the code changed the existing logic and the unit tests were not changed. What does it mean? If there are such tests, maybe, just maybe, they only check the basic things or they do not exist. And here I have one idea. Hear this out. A tester does the unit test code review. If the tester is non-technical, even check it by the test case name itself. After all, all of the tests should be self-describing. If the person doesn't fully understand the logic of the tested thing, everybody can always ask the designer what the general approach is. If you have automation testers, they should read the code without any problems. I've introduced this concept more than once in several companies. Suddenly, the number of errors at the final stage of development and production decrease. Why? Because we have different set of skills as separate roles. Product owners, testers, developers, right? And this is the best thing, but let's start working together instead of making excuses that the tester cannot read code. Of course that they can, come on. Likewise, we can treat these tests as a documentation, and let's agree, they are fast. At this point, I would also like to mention the front-end unit testing. Why? Because usually, I know that the front-end developers will hate me right now, because usually, if unit tests are added at the backend side, it is different at front-end. Why? I face the approach that the tester would check it. Yes, you are right, but when? When development will be practically done, and testing phase is the only one which left. And yet, a rich JavaScript UI should have most of its UI behavior tested with JavaScript unit tests or whatever, but still in the beginning, not only be tested with end-to-end testing. And when you get a failure, it's not only about a bug in your functional code, you also have a missing or incorrect unit test. And we are coming back to the conclusion which I mentioned before. If you have automation testers with good programming basics, why not add them to your code review? From my perspective, it is a good idea. Errors in logic can be detected already at the pull request, merge request step. Let's remember the testing mindset. Additionally, we can find some gaps in the unit test. Maybe. Just maybe, or for sure. At the beginning, when introducing such functionality, the delivery of new features will slightly slow down. However, once you develop a habit, changing your approach is an investment. More time for coding, not debugging. Just like it was, with the architecture. First, it was a monolith, then SaaS, system as a service, and now we have microservices. The evolution of architecture should also influence the change and approach to testing. We are only humans, right? And it is impossible to know everything, especially in the final stage. So let's think about the shift-led approach. Let's think about collaboration. Let's use testers' mindset. Let's, hey devs, if the tests are clearly written, anyone with little or even no programming knowledge can check them and support you. Think about edge cases or business flow. Hey testers, you do not have to be a tech savvy to support the teams at an earlier stage. Likewise, you do not need a UI to write tests. And here I would like to leave you with a thought. Taking care of quality should go beyond the division of roles. Thank you very much for this presentation and your attention. And that's all from my side because, this is last presentation. I know that probably you are already at your homes. So, yep, thank you.
Alrighty, thank you for that presentation. Very interesting take about testers doing code reviews. I've been a tester myself, starting off here at Nokia, and I have never thought about doing code reviews as a tester. So that's a very interesting approach. Maybe a good thing to keep in mind as well. But thank you for that very interesting presentation. At the moment, I do not believe we have any questions, but that does not mean it's not too late to ask any questions. So if maybe someone comes up with any new questions, they could always ask on Discord, and Emilia could answer those questions as well. So there's still a chance to answer questions and win those ebooks. So there's still a chance to win those ebooks. But for now, I don't think we have any new questions. So once again, Emilia, thank you very much for for that interesting presentation, and thank you for being here on TestDive today.
Thank you very much. See you soon.